Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and you're joined by your hosts, Deborah Bailey and Kerry Heaps. And if you're listening to this show on Podomatic, then I hope you will also subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. If you're on there listening on iTunes, that'd be great. It will help the show be found by more listeners. And also, of course, dvcoach.podomatic.com is also where you can come to listen if you're not already there. And the show is also distributed to some other platforms right now, including Spotify and Libsyn, which has some other shows as well that were done previously. So you can check out the current shows that were done in the past year or so, and some that were done in previous years. So I hope that you will listen in. You can come to Women's Entrepreneurs Secrets.com. And there you will be able to find a list of the different platforms. If you click on the podcast menu item, then you will definitely be able to see different places you can listen to the show. And also my website is dvbaileycoach.com, and you can find out more about me and my books and some coaching that I've been doing for people who want to write books. So that's another place you could stop by, and also there's information about the show there as well. So there's different ways you can find out more about me. And also if you come to womenentrepreneursecrets.com site, you can also find out about how to be a guest on the show. So it's something else that you can get from that place as well. So we're going to get started today with our topic. And this is one that Kerry suggested, so I'm going to let her say more about that, but we're going to be chatting about customer service, which is really so important for business owners. So many people kind of skimp on that. I know big companies seem to, but it's something I don't think a small company can really afford to do. So introducing Kerry. She's a seasoned entrepreneur of 14 years, and she's a publisher of Pageant Platform Magazine and the host of Pageant Platform Podcast. And she's also the founder of Pitch Like a Bitch Media, an online resource for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to gain more media exposure, and Book.Speak.Repeat, a speaker submission service. And she's the author of Pitch Like a Bitch, Top 10 Tips to Pitch Like a Pro. And that was published, will be published December 2018, and the Create Your Own Media series for podcasting, publishing, and publicity. And Kerry has an extensive background in sales, networking, recruiting, and training. And she's a former model who specialized in trade show and print work, and experienced judge on the beauty pageant circuit. So welcome back to the show, Kerry.
Thank you for having me. As always, Deb, it's such an honor and pleasure to be on the show with you, and we always have such a great time. And yes, and this is definitely a great topic, and like I told you before, I'm going to rope it in for everybody. So, while I'm sharing, I should say. And, the topic of customer service, because we talk so much about sales and marketing on this show. And I just really think, we needed to kind of cover this because of what happened to me recently. And then also too, just in general, just after you've got these people who are becoming your clients and they've come on board with you and just servicing them. Mm-hmm. I think even the smaller companies sometimes can, as they're growing, can sometimes make the same mistakes. So hopefully we can kind of cover some things today that will help with that.
Yes, I've sure that we will. And if you could share really quick your title for this show.
My title for this show, okay. Yeah, and my title, this is going to be for the show and for my new speaking topic, but it's Customer Service AA. What happens when your company finally admits they have a problem? 12 steps to success.
I like it. Got it. It's got everything.
Yeah, it does. And what birthed that whole idea has everything too. So.
Well, I don't know if you want to share that story first, or talk a little bit about how small business should really handle their customer service, because that's really a cautionary tale. What we were chatting about before we started here, and it's something that you should avoid if you are a business owner anyway. But as we all know, if we've had to deal with a larger corporation, they don't really seem to care that much after you've signed on the dotted line.
Yeah, and let me do this. I'll share the story. I will do the Reader's Digest condensed version of it, and then we can kind of dive into that. I think that might be easier, because I'll probably pull from the story at different times. But, basically what happened is, I am in the area that's affected by Hurricane Michael. And even though thankfully everybody's okay, we sustained very little damage. Our cell phone service went out everywhere here. Most of the towers were destroyed. And, because I work from home, I have to have internet. I have to have a phone, in order for me to work. And, once our service was restored, I, was still having issues where it would go down for several hours a day, and my cell phone was not working at all. Nobody else really had a working cell phone that worked all the time. And, I decided, I was like, I need to get another cell phone and just go through a different provider that is working in this area. And the reason I needed to do that is because when the internet went down, I would have a hotspot to work from, a backup plan. Mm-hmm. So I had decided to go with T-Mobile because I had, seen on the news where they were here a few days after the storm handing out, free prepaid phones so people could contact their loved ones. And I thought, gosh, that's such a nice thing. That's the type of company I want to do business with. So I thought, I knew they were up and running in the area. So I just, called them and I got a new phone, ordered new service, and a couple of extra things. It was $289 is what I paid. Mm-hmm. And I had gotten an email, just saying, thank you for your order. Never got anything else from them. And 2 days later, the phone showed up. I thought, okay. And I was told I just needed to plug it in. Nothing else needed to be done to activate it. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't the case. So I've spent a total now of 24 hours in the beginning just trying to get the phone activated. And I spent several hours that weekend on phone calls with an overseas call center in India. I spent time on Twitter with their Twitter help desk chat, and then also with their Facebook help desk chat, and no one could get this phone activated for me. They wound up, they issued me a phone number of somebody who's already in collections, which caused a problem. And so then they would reissue me another one. I mean, they had reissued me a total of 3 different numbers. The last one, I couldn't even tell you what it is. So by the time Monday morning rolled around, I was so disgusted with it. I said, you know what? I'm just going to send the phone back. I want my money back. Mm-hmm. And that turned into a huge issue. That turned into another few more days of spending hours on the phone and, dealing with, again, customer service center in India that, couldn't find my order. Mm-hmm. And they wanted me to go ahead and just send the phone back to them and then send them 2 months worth of running bank statements so they could verify that I paid for the phone. And I wound up, I had to reach out to the office of the president, which is also based in India.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not truly the office of the president. So then I had to get real mean and nasty. And I went and I filed a complaint with the Federal Communications Commission. I filed one with the Federal Trade Commission, the state's attorney's office in Florida. I filed one with Motorola, who sells them some of their phones. I also filed a complaint with my bank to dispute charges. So I had to spend time doing that as well. Now here it is. I work for myself. So for those of you who are entrepreneurs that are listening, maybe you can appreciate this more. But when you spend 24 hours in 1 week doing all of that,
Mm-hmm.
it pulls you away from your business. It pulls you away from making money, pulls you away from doing what you're supposed to be doing. It even got to a point, Deb, where I just was going to say, forget it. I'll just write this off as a loss, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, no, I don't need to do that because it is close to $300, which doesn't seem like much, but at the end of the day, it's what they did wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
So once I filed all these complaints, I told them I wasn't going to give them bank statements. So they were like, well, there's nothing we can do. So I said, let me talk to your supervisor. And then I wound up, as soon as I got her supervisor, and when somebody realized in management what was going on, and because I told them, I said, these are all the places I filed complaints. Here are the complaint numbers, so you can take a look at them, the identification numbers and file numbers. And I said, if I don't get this resolved by Monday or Tuesday, I will be calling consumer reporters, you know, because clearly I have plenty of those contacts. But I wound up, and I still have not gotten my money back. We're going on week 3.
Wow.
And I got a call the other day they wanted to verify that I had gotten my funds back. And I said, no, I haven't. And the person I've been dealing with, I sent him 2 more emails, still to no avail. He's been out of the office. And so I'm, Monday morning, I'm going to have to get nasty again. And I'm going to be calling a consumer reporter and doing some other things and wasting more of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So the lesson of this story is customer service. You make that sale, you're passing this off to customer service at this point because your salespeople can't do both. What's the handoff? Have you had to experience anything like that?
Wow.
Have you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I've been through that, and usually it's very frustrating, particularly when you're calling someone. It's bad enough if you go into a place and maybe people don't really know what to do or whatever, but if you're calling someone and then you're on the hold, you're waiting. I went through that with the people who do my internet cable, and having to wait to talk to this one, wait to talk to that one. Someone was supposed to come and they didn't come, and then they don't know why they didn't come. And it's just frustrating for the person to have to resolve all of this. So, but I think on some level, sometimes we come to expect that from these larger companies because it seems like
common practice.
Right. They don't really care enough about your experience, your user experience. And then that's so frustrating because you may be dealing with a utility, let's say, or a cable company or a phone company or someone who you're like, wow, you can't just instantly change from one to the other for some reason, or maybe they're the only game in town, in terms of often cable companies, unless you just get rid of the cable altogether. But it's just frustrating because you feel no one's listening, and here you are spending your money and you're getting nothing in return.
Yeah. And it's, it is commonplace and it really shouldn't be. And, I think this conversation for the show can be twofold because number one, how do you handle something like this? Now, I have gone to the extreme clearly and I have invested so much time. And yes, the title of the show is and I told them that. I said, thank you for giving me a new speaking title because I've been looking to add one to my arsenal and I've got it now. And believe me, when I travel around and I have to speak, of course, I will be telling this story. Absolutely. So, it just, because again, I have to get something else out of it. I have to recoup my losses.
Right.
Now, it's twofold with that of, how much time do you actually invest in this? And then, the second thing is looking at your own business. And I'm doing that right now myself because we're experiencing a growth spurt, and I want to make sure that we are keeping up that kind of stuff does not happen, that nobody's slipping through the cracks, so to speak. So I think it is important that, even if you're a smaller company, if you only have 2 or 3 people working with you, that handoff, making sure that people are getting serviced, because your salesperson, their primary job should just be to sell. And I do agree with that model. But I also think that, when you're selling, if there's a problem and you're not getting it resolved, you should be able to go back to your salesperson and try to get it rectified that way. But the handoff has got to be, I think that there has to be a procedure in place. You have to have, okay, Bob makes the sale. Okay, Janie takes it over, and now Janie's going to be servicing the client at this point and making sure that what they paid for, they're getting. What I dealt with was such a simple issue. It could have been fixed so easily. All they had to do was send me a new activation code. And nobody thought to do that. It was like, no, they could fix this. They could, and then it was like, I got put on the what do you call it? Where you're on the merry-go-round where you go back into the queue and you're talking to somebody totally different 45 minutes later that has no idea why you're calling. So, and I think as we're growing, people want to implement procedures and they don't do it the right way. It's like I think I'm trying to take an approach now with my business personally where it's a controlled growth, meaning, as we are moving forward, if I have to add more people, we're going to do that first before we bring on more customers, because we don't want to bring people on and you know what I'm saying? It makes more sense to me to invest time in the people and then bring on new customers, because we have a process that's working. The sales process is working. The service is working. So it's just a matter of bringing on more people, but I don't want somebody to be talking about my business like that. I don't want to have something like that happen where it's just kind of like, and this, I have a legitimate complaint. I mean, this isn't just somebody that's trying to be, my service isn't working. I mean, I got a nice phone, but I couldn't do anything with it. It didn't work.
Right. So what difference does it make if it was a nice phone, or there's all this, I guess, public relations that they may have because they may have showed up in an area that people needed them, but then when the follow-up time comes, then now suddenly they're not there, or the service isn't what you need it to be. So I think that's also something to talk about with a small business, is that you may be presenting yourself in a certain way and focus on the sale and making promises, but what is the person getting from you once they have now paid their money, like you were saying about the handoff? What happens now that you've got them, you could say, and okay, how are you treating them? Are you listening? Do you have something in place to deal with anything that may come up? And, I know that you deal, definitely with sales and everything, but what would you recommend? Because I think there is so much emphasis on acquiring the customer and getting that money, but maybe not so much what happens if the person has any complaints, has any issues, needs more information. What do you suggest?
Well, I think it's twofold. If you have just a product, meaning, okay, you paid for it, it's in your hands, you use it, it's like, like toothpaste or, makeup or, a training, an audio training or a book. They've paid for it, you ship it to them, they've got it, end of story. It's in their hands. They have to use it at that point. You put yourself out of the equation. And then, so for those types of people that are in that kind of business, I think it's just best to still have, where the salesperson might still be, if you're small enough, you could still handle those calls. Like, for example, they get the product and the pages are ripped, or I don't know, the toothpaste smells like a foot. I don't, just anything like that. where they can be like, okay, we're sorry that happened. We'll ship you out a new one. And then that's the end of it. They're kind of resolving stuff like that, because as long as you are producing a good quality product, those calls should be minimal anyway. But with products, they're going to be minimal anyway, because like I said, once somebody buys them, that's it. Mm-hmm. The money is exchanged hands, you leave, and so forth. Now, anything that's service related, like for example, what I do. Mm-hmm. Service related is very different, because clearly they are buying into the product, they're buying into the service that you provide. And maybe you do have some products with that. Mm-hmm. But they're buying into that service. So you have to service them. You have to provide that service monthly, or yearly, or whatever it is that they sign up for. So mm-hmm. you've got to have somebody else helping with that. Because your salesperson can't work a split desk like that. That's only going to work maybe for up to 5 to 10 people that you bring on board, customer wise. Then after that, it's going to be, they turn into a customer service representative because they have no time to sell. Mm-hmm. Right. So you have to have somebody, depending upon the service that you're providing and what it is. So, and, you could possibly prolong that, or, expand how much time you're putting into it. Like, for example, if you have a customer service agent, it's yourself and then a salesperson. Well, you could expand the time, meaning, okay, if you're providing a service, but then you're also like, the person signs up for the service. Okay, great. Well, this month here's the products that go with it. You need to read through these first, and then we're going to set up a call to do, like coaching. Here's all the exercises you need to do. Then once you're done, call me so we can schedule your consultation, or so we can schedule a follow-up call to talk about, what your game plan is going to be after everything that you've learned. So you can prolong the process a little bit with some products. Mm-hmm. But I would still say, even with that, you've got to have somebody else on board to basically be servicing those, or helping to provide that service. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, again, you're after 5 to 10 clients, your salesperson, they're not selling anymore, so you're not growing. Mm-hmm. And if those people aren't happy, or if they leave, then they're like, oh gosh, I had 10 clients, now I only have 5, I got to go out there and sell more. And you're kind of like playing catch up at that point, because like we've said before, sales is something you should be doing year round. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you really shouldn't have the salesperson doing that kind of work.
I don't think that you should, but again, I think it really depends on what kind of business it is. If it's just product related, mm-hmm. the person buys it, they pay for it, and if they do have a customer complaint, it's going to be that the product was damaged, or they didn't like it, they want their money back. Basic complaints, then right. I think that that's enough. Because again, if you have a makeup company and you sell 100 lipsticks and 50 of them are coming back saying my lipstick was damaged, or my lipstick, smelled like a foot, then clearly there's a problem with your product and you need to fix that anyway. That's up to you. Mm-hmm. But, at the end of the day, you have to make it where they're able to do their job, which is to sell. So you don't want to bottle up their entire schedule of having to take those kinds of calls. Logistically and realistically too, I think, because I do it too, you have to be able to participate in your own success as the business owner. You're going to need to take some of those calls. You're a smaller company. Mm-hmm. And I think you should be, because I think it does give you a better stance of, having a pulse on your business of what's going on. Mm-hmm. Just like the bigger companies, the people who really can make a difference and change things have no clue what's going on. Just like that crazy guy at T-Mobile, who, you look at him on Twitter and he's cooking chicken in a crock pot, or he's he's rocking on a rocking horse today. I saw that, so he's busy doing that, not realizing what's going on with his company, because he thinks, oh, I have all these other links of management here, they'll take care of it. Well, they're not, because they all think the same thing too. Oh, I have all these other managers here involved, they'll take care of it. And the people below them are saying the same thing. It's like that old commercial I think it was for Bubble Bath or for shampoo, and she tells 2 friends, and then she tells 2 friends, and
so on and so on and so on.
Yeah. So, but what's bad about that is it's just, when people who have a bad experience, they go out of their way to tell more people than if they have a good experience, and that's the problem.
You're right. They do.
And this wasn't a bad experience. It was a really bad, terrible, negative experience that, again, for what I've been through, being in this area affected by the hurricane, to have to deal with that after, the aftermath of that, and then to have to deal with this on top of it is truly unacceptable.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, you've got to have something on paper. And I think too, when you're smaller, you're at an advantage, because the process you create, if it's not working, then you can change it.
Right.
It's easy to change. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You can decide how you're going to handle different things for the customer. And, also I think it's important to note that getting or making your current customers happy and having them maybe buy more things from you or refer other people to you is probably much better than trying to acquire people brand new who don't know anything about you. What are your thoughts around that? Because I would think that customer service really has a lot to do with you really making them happy enough to refer other people to you.
It is. I will say that, it's just, I had a new client that signed up today, and they were even saying to me, oh, let me know how we can help you. And I said, logistically, because again, this is what we do is service-based with Book.Speak.Repeat, is that let us make sure, let's get you up and running. Let's get the service working for you. Then if you want to refer business to me, I'm always happy to take that. But let's concentrate on you first, because I want to make sure that, again, that they get the process, that they understand what we do. They've dealt with it for maybe a month, and then if they want to start referring people, great. But I think, and again, it is, and I would agree with that. I mean, it is easier to, go to your current clients, and if you have 10 clients and you get 5 referrals from each of them and you're able to close one of the 5, you've doubled your customer base. But again, if you're not, I don't think anybody should be asking for referrals if their process internally needs work or if they need to hire someone else. Because again, I think it's important that you have the people in place that can service your clients, because you don't want to bring on 10 new clients and then go, okay, I got to bring somebody on board and train them. Well, you've got 10 new clients and you're going to train somebody new. I mean, think about that. Think about not only the timeline, but what if they don't work out?
Right. You're right.
Because you're not like the bigger companies where you can bring in a class of 10 people and then by the end, if this one doesn't work out, that's fine. Well, I've got 9 other people. No, you need to have it in place prior to doing that.
Right. I think that's important to note, because people may not even really be thinking that way, especially if they are smaller and they are not really thinking about what happens next to the person who they worked so hard to bring in, and what you would do to give customer service. I mean, a lot of us may know because based on what we've been through and what we don't want to have happen. It just seems that there's so much, and we've often talked about the funnel.
Oh, Lord, not the funnel.
Getting them, and then maybe trying to upsell to this, upsell to that, la, la, la. That's great, but if this person has a problem or a question or just any kind of a way to make them feel valued or deal with any questions or concerns they have.
Yeah. Well, I think, great customer service, again, you can't make everybody happy. I mean, I think that's number one, realizing that. But also putting that aside, I think you need to give your clients, if you have, if you have a list of, hey, if you sign up with me, this is what you're getting. Like I do this. I print out a list of what we have on our site, what our clients have signed up for, what they get. And for each client that I have, I mean, we go down the list. Okay, did they get their feature on the podcast? Did they get their setup call? And we just kind of go down the list to make sure that they're getting everything that we told them they were going to get. And even if it's something that it's like, oh, you also get access to, a free downloadable book, I will, in conversation with them when I'm talking to them, hey, by the way, did you got a copy of the book? Did you happen to read that yet? Have you gone through? Do you have any questions? Just to remind them, hey, this is something else that you get. Maybe you haven't had time to read it or listen to it, but I think it would help you. Just so they know that I know, hey, I know you got the book. If you have any questions and again, some things, especially products and services, the customer does have to be involved. They have to use it. If they buy cable from Mediacom and they never watch TV, that's not Mediacom's fault. So you can only do so much, but just definitely making sure that they have what you promised them. And then, even with service, I think is always going to be a little bit more tricky because it doesn't matter how clear of a picture you paint for a client or a customer. When they come on board, they're still going to have it in their head how they think it's going to work out. But as long as you are doing everything that you can to make sure that they're getting what they need, I think coaching is a great example. And I know you can relate to this. You bring someone on board, they want coaching, you talk about what you're going to do, you set a 90-day goal or a 6-month goal, and like each week they have homework that they have to do. Because, again, that's the whole premise behind coaching is to make you a better person. So if they don't do the work, because there's nothing you can do as a coach, you can't go to their house, knock on the door and say, hey, did you do your exercises today? Same thing with a personal trainer. You can't go to their house at 2:00 in the morning and pry the ice cream out of their hands. They have to participate in their own success. They have to participate by using whatever you give them. So at some point, you have to exit and bow out of where the service is going to end because, again, like, for example, what I do, Book.Speak.Repeat with, we're helping people get speaking engagements. What our premise is what we do is we submit to various outlets, and our whole goal is to get you a conversation. Every meeting planner, if they want to hire you, they're going to have a conversation with you first. They got to vet you. And that's our goal, is to get that call, to, get them to agree to talk to you. Well, if they want to talk to you, they don't want to talk to me. I can't take that call for you. They want to talk to you. I can't sit there and, be a ventriloquist and have your lips move and all the words are coming out of my mouth. If they decide to hire you, I'm not the one that flies there to speak. It's you. So you have to participate as a customer. Customers have responsibilities too, but speaking from that's just where you do have to know where does your cutoff lie? Where is it that it's no longer okay? And it's just like I have a personal trainer I've worked with, and he's had clients before that he has worked with that he has said, I know that when I leave, as soon as we leave the gym, they're going to the McDonald's drive-thru because he's worked with them for 6 months and they've only dropped maybe 5 pounds. And he knows it's their diet. He knows they're not doing the work that they're supposed to do, but yet they still keep coming back.
Right.
And it's frustrating. So, know where your cutoff point is of where you need to bow out, but really delivering what you promised. And if you have to go through a checklist to do that, by all means do it. If you feel like somebody's struggling and you have additional information that can help them, share it with them. Do everything that you can do on your end. It's just like when I was working with T-Mobile, everything that they were telling me to do, pull the SIM card out, restart the phone. If I would have refused to do all that, then hey, that's on me that the phone doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have an involvement in resolving both the customer and the business has to have a part in resolving the problem.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's true. That's a good point.
So, but I think where it's really important for great customer service is to, if you're having an issue with your client, if they're telling you, hey, I have an issue, at that point, you need to be within the next 30 days monitoring that, how that's going, what they complained about, what could possibly be going wrong, what could you do better to service them? Because if you don't do that, all that's going to happen is the problem's going to escalate. Yeah.
That's true. And you don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't. You really don't.
You don't want that. You don't want the escalation. Definitely. Definitely. It's not worth all that. Because then that can really get ugly and who knows, sometimes people really like to sue and all kinds of things come about. And then of course, if someone has a really bad experience, they're going to tell everybody.
Yes. And if they're speakers, they might even come up with a topic about it and talk about it all over the country. And yeah, so,
yes. That's true. And definitely, when you're talking social media, you have to be really careful about what you,
well, that brings up another thing now that you mentioned social media about complaints, because, Facebook especially, we have it with our Facebook pages that we can set it up where if somebody comments or sends us a direct message, where there's an instant autoresponder that goes back to them saying, thank you for your inquiry. We'll be with you momentarily or whatever. And it's the same thing. I went through that with T-Mobile, where every time I went on there, and it didn't matter what I said. I could have said hi. One time I went on there and I said, your service sucks. The other time I went on there and said, I can't get my phone activated. And I got the same autoresponder every time. Oh, we're so sorry for the inconvenience. Please wait one moment while we have one of our techs direct message you. And yeah, so I think even with social media, that is something that people have to be, because I think we all do it. We all have autoresponders and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
As long as you are a live person is following up with that.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, this is Deborah. Not only am I host of Women Entrepreneurs Radio, but I'm also a writer and coach. I've learned that making professional changes calls for a change in mindset, and that's not always easy to do. In my book, Think Like an Entrepreneur, Transforming Your Career and Taking Charge of Your Life, you'll learn the 5 steps to thinking like an entrepreneur so that you can move from idea to action. You'll also get information on how to manage fear of failure and how to banish self-doubt. And you'll receive lots of motivation to pick you up and point you in the right direction when you're facing the emotional and mental challenges that come with making life changes. In fact, one reviewer said, the book gave me ideas to match with my own feelings. This book is clear, straightforward. All tips are really good and easy to apply. I couldn't agree more. So get your copy today of Think Like an Entrepreneur, Transforming Your Career and Taking Charge of Your Life. It's available in print, ebook, and audiobook on Amazon.com.
There's all kinds of ways to make people happy. So that's
I think too. Yeah, just telling them, Deb. I think just having that conversation and listening to them, and they're not happy. Okay, this is what we're doing to work on this, and what else can we do? I think just doing that. I think that diffuses 90% of it. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. Just try to do something that makes the people know that you do care about them being a customer. Yeah, and a lot of times that definitely does diffuse a situation where the person may be angry or frustrated, and then you're showing that I know I care or sympathize, whatever, with what just happened. So let's see what we can do, because we want you to continue to be a customer.
Well, we do. Well, it's just like with what I do. And I think, and again, I think I keep going back to coaching because I think coaching this is kind of the same process, is that, and personal training, anything like that where you have to take initiative to improve your life, you have to, you got to participate. I mean, like I said, I think that there's many factors that go into it. Especially with coaching, because you're doing more customization, and we do that too in our business. And sometimes we just have to kind of tweak what we're doing to make it really work for our client. And, clearly, yeah, I mean, I just, to me, I would rather have somebody work with me for a month or two and start, they're getting people who, meeting planners that want to meet with them, talk with them about coming to a conference, because again, once the meeting planner wants to talk to them, I'm out of the picture. The only thing I can do is offer my consult and my ideas. If they want feedback from me, like, hey, they want to negotiate, how does this email sound? And I can give them my feedback. Absolutely. But at that point, we're kind of out of the picture, because again, they have to negotiate on their own. They have to talk to the meeting planner. They've got to agree to speak. They've got to, at that point, then go through the whole speaker's calendar with, for that event. And basically, there's more work involved, that we don't do. It's kind of like helping you find clients, so to speak, is a good way to put it. And it's, like I said, with coaching, it's the same thing. I've coached people and I've worked with a coach before, and, like I said, if you don't, they're an expert for a reason. If you don't listen to it, there's a problem. And I think too, if you start customizing, that's something as a business owner that you really need to, be very careful of. Because again, I think sometimes people customize and they're like, then they don't realize how far out of realm of what they normally offer they've gotten. Because I've done that before where it's like, oh my gosh, it's to the point where I'm doing something so totally different from what I really offer that this isn't making sense for me anymore. So customizing, you got to be really careful with that.
Yeah, customizations, I guess it sounds like you really have to be flexible, in terms of what you may do.
You probably ran into that with coaching too. At some point, I'm sure you have.
I think what I have done is try to tailor it kind of to the person or the situation, and just try to give them that personal kind of service, because when I'm working with someone, I have usually made it, open-ended, or when I've worked with someone who I've said, well, we're going to have 3 meetings or 4 meetings, and that's part of what we're doing. And if that person, I've had a situation where a person kind of didn't want to finish the last one, and maybe they're feeling overwhelmed or something, but they really weren't able to say, okay, what is the issue that you're having, or maybe you need more time, or maybe this is too much for you to take in right now. And that kind of, to me, that kind of goes back to what we were saying about people being responsible. If they've got an issue, or if they've got something where, wow, I can't do all this the way it's presented, or something just came up in my life that I can't do this, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. You should let people know if this isn't really something you can complete. And like I said, it's not like they were angry or saying this is bad or anything like that, but I want to feel that I'm giving them what they need, but then they've got to tell me as well what isn't working for you. Let me know that so that we can see what we can adjust. But then sometimes people don't really do that. They just maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they don't really know how to articulate it. Particularly with coaching, there's a lot of things going on emotionally sometimes. So they may not really know how to say, well, this isn't working for me, or maybe this is something about this I need to change. They're not really saying, and then you don't really know how to meet them at that place because you don't really know what the issue is. Going back to what you said before about people taking responsibility, I think that's something as a client that you can do if you're working with someone, and it's like they maybe have a program that's more flexible. Then you could kind of let people know, well, this is working, this isn't working. If you have an issue, talk to them and let them know, because it may be something they can accommodate you in a way that you're thinking, I can't, but you should, because you're a client, you're spending money with this person, and they do want to know how they can make this a better experience for you. I'm sure that if they're a reputable coach, for instance, they definitely are going to want to do that for you. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
Because I think with everything, there has to be a little bit of customization. I mean, there is even with the bigger products. You know, you buy a cell phone, customization is you get your own number. You can download your own app, you know. So if you get, you know, cable service, you're picking your own particular package. You're getting it. You pick how many TVs you want it to go on, so forth. So, you know, there has to be a certain amount of customization anyway. But like going so, you know, to the point where you're customizing to the point where it just doesn't, you know, just doesn't match what you do anymore. You know, a good example of that is I did have a coaching client probably about 4 years ago. And I wound up, when I took the person on, they were to the point where it was, I guess they didn't really get that, even though I outlined everything I suggested they didn't want to do. They fought with me on everything. And then they want me to do something totally different. And just to appease them, I did that. So it's like, but it wasn't something that I would normally do, so I didn't feel comfortable doing it anyway. And it just, I mean, the situation ended fine. It was okay. But at the end of the day, I thought, you know, I logistically, you know, if you're offering a service to 20 people and you've got one person that you're offering the service, but you're offering it on, you know, steroids, you know, you're offering something that's just so magnified or just so different from everybody else, or there's all these different things they want you to do. It's just, it's going to hold you back, and it holds back the success of the other 20 people that you're working on. So I think, you know, again, it's a fine line. I think you have to kind of have something that can flow pretty easily, but can be customized, but kind of knowing, you know, again, going back to what I said, earlier, you kind of have to know where's your stepping out point? Where's the point that where you're like, okay, I'm no longer involved in the process because I can't be. There's just physically no way. It's the same thing. You have to figure out how far can I take this without it interrupting what we do. You know, it's kind of like a personal trainer having 20 people that they're training to lose weight and to get into better shape. And then they have that one person that actually wants to hire them to gain more weight. I want you to train me so I can put on an additional 50 pounds. It's so against what they do. But maybe they're trying to gain weight for a movie part or something. I don't know. But it's just so against what you would normally do. That I think you have to be really careful of.
You're going to hire them so you can gain weight.
Well, that's the best, you know, the best picture I could, you know, use to show everybody. Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing. I mean, there are people that I think come to you, whether it's coaching, whether it's real estate, you know, you always have that one client that's like, well, you sell real estate, you sell homes, and they're like, well, I'm really an investor. I want to look at property. I want to look at this commercial stuff, you know, stuff that you don't really do. It's going to be difficult for you if you have to consistently be looking for residential real estate, and then you have this one person that wants property or wants commercial stuff or wants home or multifamily homes. That, you know what I mean? It's going to pull you away from servicing all the clients that you are specializing in, which is residential real estate. So, and it happens to everybody. I think that, you know, you always have that one person that wants to come in and change everything. And clearly that's the responsibility of us as business owners, where we have to say, I'm sorry, but this is not going to be a good fit. You need to go work with someone else. And we've all made that mistake of saying, yeah, I'll do it, whether it was because of money or because we wanted to have that person as a client or we were on a roll, who knows. But those are also the clients that, you know, we regret taking them on. And then it does them a disservice because we really can't service them as a client.
You know I have gotten rid of a company, moved on to some other because I had a bad experience. I'm sure a lot of people have. they've done that. You don't want to be that person who has it happen to you and then has them tell all their friends how terrible you were, or go on Yelp and they'll leave a lot of rude things about you.
Definitely. And I forgot about that aspect of it. I guess I didn't, I basically, when I went after T-Mobile, I was like, I wanted to go to make sure I got their attention, because I don't think the bigger companies pay any attention to that kind of stuff. But, there's so many different things that in this day and age, what you do, you really do have to watch what you put out there, and the service that you're providing, because people do that. They take to social media now. And that was one of the things when I was sitting there on the Twitter chat, thing, working with their help desk, they don't have an actual official chat. You have to go through Facebook or Twitter, and just reading the feeds of all these people and how angry they are and how their service doesn't work. And I mean, it was horrible. Just horrible. And then, of course, with each one came along an autoresponder that said, "Oh, we're sorry you're having difficulty. Please wait just a moment while we contact you in direct chat or direct mail." And, and it's like, it's the same thing on every single one of them. And it's like, so they're not really, they're really not seeing it. And again, I don't know if the people who are handling those calls, if they are people that truly work for T-Mobile, or are they a third party? I don't know. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter. Whatever service or product we're providing, we all need to make sure that what we offer works, and that is what we're supposed to be doing.
It's important that it does, for your sake, your reputation, for your clients and customers who you want to please. That's what you want to do. That's part of why you're in business. So that should be a priority for you, that you're there to really give them what they need, or answer their questions, or try to make it a good experience, because that's what people want. They want a good experience, and then they'll tell people. If they've had a great experience with you, they're going to stay on if they can as a customer. They'll tell other people. Just like if you've had a good experience somewhere, you're going to tell other people that, wow, this is really great. It's the same way. And so that's, you really want to make it easy for them to do business with you.
Right.
That's really it. They'll make it harder for them. They'll make it harder for them to work with you. And, like I said, just don't think about acquiring the customer and all the hoops you may be jumping through to get them. Think about what happens next.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Because you just want to not create a bad experience for people.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that's anybody's, goal, clearly. But, again, ignoring it is the number one thing that is going to make it escalate.
You really don't. If it's been brought up and you're hearing from a client, it's best to try to see what you can do to help them. Like I said, problematic people exist. So yeah, there's going to be those people who are never pleased, and you know who they are, because you probably have dealt with them before.
Well, I think, honestly, we're all, you get attuned to figuring out, the longer you are in business, that it's just that gut instinct, and you just know. And like I said, it's the times that you ignore that and you bring them on board, and then you're like, why did I do this? I want to bang my head up against the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. See, wish you didn't. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you can't be afraid to tell, to turn clients away. And it could be that because if they are wanting something so totally opposite from what you do, or they want to really, they want to take the customization level to a whole nother level. And I mean, I had a client I turned down recently for that, and one of the things that this person said to me is, I'm going to be one of those clients that you love me one minute, then you hate me the next. And I said, no, actually you won't be, because this is how we do things. If you don't think this is going to be a fit for you, take more time to think about it. you know, and that, of course, my gut was telling me this, I can't let her come on board. I just can't.
Right. You just know this isn't going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
and it's, you know, save everybody the aggravation, make, you know, and it's not fair to that person either, because trust me, there is a company out there that they need. They might have to pay a premium dollar for it. They might have to go across the country for it, but there's a company that can help them.
Yeah. Well, that's true. There's definitely something for
There's
everyone.
something for something for everyone. Absolutely.
So don't feel like you have to accommodate, you know, again, yes, accommodation, but if it's something that's beyond what you really can do, want to do, then take that into consideration too. Because maybe it's just not the right client for you. You're not the right person for them. That's also something to keep in mind, because you really want to limit it, if you will, maybe that's not the right word, to those people who fit the clients that you want to serve and what your product and services are. Not just anybody who may not be a fit in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then now it's a problem for both of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you can't give them what they're looking for. And now maybe you're resentful and you're feeling like, oh, why did I do this? That's, you know, really important. And, you know, I'll just say real quick, I also have an Etsy shop where I do like printable, like quotes and things like that. So if you guys are interested in that, there's a link on my dbaileycoach.com site, because you know, it's kind of a long URL, so I'm not going to go all into that, but you could find it there. But you know, when someone buys something, even though it's just like a $4, $5, $6 thing, then normally I'll just send like a little message. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Here's a coupon, you know, if you want to use it again. And you'll get like 20% off, that kind of thing. Just that little touch shows that, yeah, I thank you for shopping with me. Here's something if you come back. And also it may encourage them to come back. Oh, if you leave a review, ask for that. You know, because a lot of times people don't even think about doing that. So you can ask them if they could do it. That's something else that you could do to really create relationships with them, and maybe even return sales, or even if it's just a one sale, to kind of make it a nice experience for them. You know, because I had something where someone bought a pre-made book cover, and I was able to accommodate her with something very simple. And I was saying, well, you know, these are pre-made, but then she just wants something super simple, and I could do it, and she was very happy with it. You know, so she came back for something else, but, you know, it would have had to been something I did from scratch. And I didn't know if I could really do it in the time frame she needed. And I was honest about that. And that's also customer service. It's not saying to her, oh, I could do that tomorrow, and knowing I couldn't, or you know, doing things now because you just want to make the sale, but you're not really helping yourself or the person. To be honest about what you can really accomplish, because that's also part of customer service. So I think I've made all my little all my points. Do you have anything else that you want to, you know, say before we wrap up on this topic?
No, I would just say probably just in closing is just to make sure that people just, you know, have a plan of action, but have something, you know, it's like writing a business plan. Write it, but write it in pencil, because you're going to be changing it. You know, have something that can be edited. It's like having a document, but have something in hand, something that you can follow. But know that you're going to have to, you know, some customers, they might want a refund. They might want, you know, there might be a way to save them that's not bending what you do too much, but just have a plan of action. Right. I think that's brutally important, and be willing to change it and be flexible.
All right, then. Well, I think we've definitely come at this topic from a lot of different sides, and hopefully that you will have the takeaway that it's all customer service, how you deal with, you know, your customers, and how you provide your services and products to them and communicate with them. It's all part of it. And experiences, as I keep reading, is the thing. People want to feel that they have an experience. So every little contact point with them is something that's going to make an impression on them. So definitely keep that in mind as you are, you know, kind of figuring out how you're going to bring customers in. Don't leave that part out. of the situation, because it's very important. So, once again, this is Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey and Kerry Heaps. So glad you could join us, and we will see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.